Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's summertime. Everyone's either on vacation, just back from vacation, or about to leave for vacation. I'm bored with this show, so I have my friend Roger Follebout in. We've got our Pack 14 shirts in, and we're going to talk about old guy stuff. Welcome, Roger.
Great to be here, Greg. Thank you for the shirt. Can you hear that clicking sound, by the way?
People turning off
Those
the TV
are TVs
sets.
all over Wicomico County, changing
Yes.
the channel and screaming, Bassett, not this guy again.
We do air at the same time as Jeopardy in the evenings, but Jeopardy's no fun anymore since people just go for the Daily Double. There's no need to even watch Jeopardy.
That is true. By the way, thank you for the shirt.
It's to commemorate Pack 14's 20th anniversary, and I'm honored when I wear this shirt. It's a difficult shirt to iron, as you can tell, but otherwise it's a great shirt.
Mine is fresh out of the bag, so I've still got the creases, looking better than you.
Now, I understand you're going to wear this shirt to an important event that's coming up. Tell me about that.
There is a Women Supporting Women event at Brew River coming up on August 7, where I will be a guest bartender, and I will proudly wear this for the luau theme of that event.
Okay.
How about that?
Who else is a guest bartender there?
Jenny Pastusak will be with me.
Now, ironically, we're interviewing her for the show tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Yeah, to help me get out of my boredom period here.
Ask her if she knows how to mix a drink, because I have no idea.
I'll find that out.
No matter what you order, and I'm just telling you right now, if I'm your guest bartender, you order a Manhattan, you're getting a beer. You order rum and Coke, you're getting a beer. Beer, beer, beer.
Well, it's like my father used to say about after dinner coffee. I used to fret about making coffee for everyone, and he would say, just make it. Everyone will drink it and say it's delicious. No one will ever tell you that it's terrible.
If it's horrible, we'll just load it up with sugar.
Right, and so it's the same thing with this drinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how was your summer? Speaking of vacation, you're
good.
just back from vacation.
I am. We slipped away to Cancun for 5 days, which was wonderful. One of those vacations where you walk down to the beach chair at 7 o'clock, throw your towel on it, go get breakfast, come back, and you don't leave that beach chair till 6 o'clock at night. You know, it's pool, it's the Caribbean Sea, it's
Right.
the pool bar, it's the beach chair, it's another bar, it's the sea, it's the beach chair.
Right.
So very relaxing. We did nothing and had a wonderful time.
And you just wave and people bring you food and
That's
drinks?
all you have to do.
Now, I thought of you this week as I was reading a very disturbing report from the Pew Foundation about media and where we're all headed in our media thing. And I think in my media thing, I've got this little niche and I'm okay.
Yeah.
But I was alarmed, and everyone was alarmed, and I want to get your viewpoint on this, on the decline in viewership of local television news. Just how much down it, how far down it is in a 10-year trend.
Right. Well, first, do you ever think we're we really have become those two old guy Muppets?
Right.
Where we sit around and just hate life.
Yeah.
And talk about how wonderful it was with manual typewriters.
And it was never wonderful then.
It wasn't.
We hated every minute of that time too. Yeah.
We absolutely did.
Yeah.
But local television news, you know, I have to be honest with you, I don't follow it the way that I used to.
Isn't it amazing? And we're the two guys who should be following it.
Right. And you would think that I would be for a guy who lived his life on there for a dozen years. But I just don't anymore. Although I think there is good quality news being produced here in Salisbury.
I think there is.
When I see it.
And we don't want to denigrate our colleagues at WBOC or Channel 47 because they do a great job.
No, and there are great young reporters in this market who are putting some great things together. But I don't watch it as regularly as I used to. You know, when I had to do it for a living, I had to be there. Now that I don't have to do it for a living, I'll catch it when I can. But my schedule is so crazy that, and I'll be honest, at 6 o'clock, I'm usually not home to see the news, and I know it's on at different times than 6 o'clock,
Right.
but look, I'm an old timer, and 6 o'clock is when the news came on. And by 11 o'clock, I'm sound asleep.
But what happened? Because, I mean, like, my whole life was devoted to going to the paper in the morning and figuring out the 12 or 15 stories that everyone in my market had to read the next day in order to be, like, good citizens and productive citizens and all that stuff, be part of their community. And the same thing with you. You spent the whole day building to this crescendo where you were going to present a news report to people that would make their lives better. And it just doesn't feel like that anymore.
No, well, look, in the age of the internet and blogs and everything else that's exploding. Everybody's a journalist now, whether or not they are a bona fide journalist or not. Everybody's a journalist. Everybody can blog. Everybody can tweet. Everybody can put out whatever they want on Facebook. News isn't what news was when you and I were doing it.
Right.
It's a lot different. It's whatever now appeals to whoever wants to throw something up on social media and watch it go viral.
Right.
I mean, that's what it has become. I mean, some of the biggest stories that we have coming out of the hospital these days anymore are the stories that we do that are things like weddings in the ICU. We're doing wonderful things. We're saving lives, and don't get me wrong, there are great stories that we're telling, and they get covered.
Right.
But those are the things that seem to explode
Right.
and take off.
Right.
And it's just the news now is so immediate, and there's no waiting for 6 o'clock anymore. When you were putting the paper out, you'd work on it, and the paper, when I came here, the paper was an evening paper.
Right.
So the paper came out at night. But that quickly switched to a morning delivery. But you'd work all day for the next day and put the news out. Now, and the same with the news, we'd work till 6 o'clock, and red light would come on, and you'd give the day's news, and at 11 o'clock, you'd recap and catch up whatever else went on in those 5 hours between the last time you signed, or 4.5 hours between the last time you signed off. But now, if it happens right here, somebody's got it on somewhere in 30 seconds,
right,
telling the world about it. Now, good, bad, ugly, all of the above.
Right.
Because who do you trust? There are now 17 sides to every story versus the 3 that there were when you and I were doing news for a living. So it's great. I love the immediacy of it. I love to be able to see things and read things and find out about things as they happen. But I'm always very cautious about what I read. And I still, look, I'm a guy who still reads the Daily every morning, cover to cover.
Because you should.
I pick it up and I read the newspaper every morning. I don't go online to do it. I turn the page.
Yeah.
I want the print and the ink on my hands, and I read through the paper every day. When I do watch the news, I'm watching the local news to see what's going on. It's great entertainment, what's going on with the blogs and all the other things in the podcasts. And I'm part of that because I have my own podcast now at the hospital. But take it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's still, among the politicians I deal with, there's still a lot of credibility with the TV thing. Because I'll be on the phone with them, and they'll go, "Oh, I got to go, WBOC's calling." And they'll hang up for me, and I'll be like, "Okay, TV people are on the way in,"
Right.
But it doesn't, I don't know if it has the same resonance that the print thing does.
I don't know. I don't miss reading The Independent either. I'll throw you a bone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You don't miss reading it because you've stopped reading it.
No, I never miss reading it. Not that I don't want to read it. I never miss it when it comes out. And it's another one that I'll read cover to cover. And that, in my opinion, is a great paper because it really is feels very local.
Right. It's not a regional daily newspaper like it's my own little thing.
Has a very local feel to it, and I like that. It takes me back to the days of the old Salisbury News and Advertiser.
Right.
And you remember the old News and Advertiser?
Right. I remember my first week back in town in 1999. I want to say your birthday is either in December or January.
You're close. March. March.
Okay. So I was the fresh editor in 2000, and the Advertiser used to have a little people column on the front page on the left side, and they were doing a thing for your birthday, and I think it might have been your 40th birthday.
Wow, I don't remember.
In 2000, would you have turned 40 in 2000?
2001.
Okay, so maybe you were 39. But anyway, so they mentioned your age in there, and I thought you were 50.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks. I appreciate that.
Because when I came out of college, you were on TV then, and you were like the distinguished news dean of the community. There was that gap when Mark Hubbard was over at BOC.
Yeah,
but there was no Alan
Hubbard and I crossed, and he was there for a while, and then Hammond came in.
But you were like the guy, and so I'm reading that you're like my age, and I'm like, oh my God, he's my age. And I was just brazen enough and cocky enough that I picked up the phone and called you, and I said, "This is Greg Bassett of the Daily Times."
I said, "Who?"
Yeah, exactly, as they all do. And I said, "Are you really 39?" And you're like, "Well, yes." And you got all defensive about it. I was just trying to be funny. But you thought maybe I was writing a news story or something. I don't know what you thought.
I don't recall that.
But it was hysterical because I thought you were 50.
Did I look 50?
No, because you had that presence. You had that
Thank
establishment kind of thing. And I was the editor of the Daily Times by then. I probably should have had this same sort of establishment, but I still thought of myself as 25 years old. And certainly acted 25 years old.
I still think of myself at 25 years old. It's very hard to believe I'm 58 years old. I don't know where all that time has gone.
I want to ask you about the TV thing, because when you did the TV thing, it was really, really important. And that group that you had, people still remember. They remember Jeff and Kelly and
Greg Gaston.
Greg Gaston on sports.
Yep.
And it was almost like Anchorman to a degree, like a little bit of a decade later.
Yeah.
But it was a big deal. I mean, when you sat there and that light came on, it was a big deal.
That was a good group of people. I mean, very, very talented people. And we had some great reporters, too, and great career moves that were made out of there. Mark Vernarelli, if you remember Vernarelli. Vernarelli ended up...
Channel 2 in Baltimore.
Ended up in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Did some work there. Mike Tobin, I hired out of the Cronkite School of Broadcasting.
Right.
And Tobin went... I don't know where Tobin jumped to, but he's at Fox News now.
Right.
I mean, that's a really good move. And BOC equally. Some great moves from people at BOC to major markets.
We had Bonnie Bernstein in there.
Bonnie did some weekend sports stuff for us for a while. And
Yeah.
Pam Ward, who did
Pam Ward is a star, a bona fide star.
At ESPN. Pam was doing weekends for us. Pete Medhurst, who was up doing radio in Washington now.
I love Pete. I worked with Pete in Annapolis.
Pete used to do some weekend stuff for us as well on the sports desk.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, some really good people. And Gaston himself. Gaston is still in Memphis. He's been there for a number of years. He's the voice of the Memphis Tigers sports program. He's got a hugely, wildly successful sports radio program in Memphis. So he's still going at it. But Kel's out of the business. I'm out of the business. I think Jeff is out of the business. I haven't talked to him in a while. Last I heard, he was, I believe, teaching school somewhere at, down around Tallahassee or somewhere, a meteorology school.
This is Jeff Donnell. He was the meteorologist. And the thing with Channel 47 that was so cool, they had the cutout Delmarva Peninsula. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
of course
I do.
you do. And that was like stunning in its time. There wasn't the old map. I mean, I remember Ralph Pennywell standing in front of the map, and he would draw with a magic marker where the storms were, and he would block the map so you couldn't see what he had drawn.
Right. We joked about the manual typewriters earlier.
Yeah.
I was there at Channel 47 at WMDT when the first computers came in that we started to do the news on computers.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the manual typewriters. We'd hammer through the carbon paper that would produce the 4 or 5 copies that you needed, and literally rip the wire. I mean, you'd go over and you'd rip the wire, and you'd separate it. You'd hang your national news, your state news, your sports, your weather, your lotteries. It's just
people used to tune into TV to find the lottery number.
Or the Meatland drawing. Do you remember the old meat with Scotty? We used to do the old Meatland.
Scotty from Meatland. Yeah.
Holy cow!
Yeah. So where did you get the idea to do this? You were at Eastern Michigan.
Yeah. I went to school to play ice hockey. I grew up in Michigan, so I went to Eastern Michigan to play ice hockey. Got injured, and really had no idea what I was going to do. So I was out of options, and it just turned out that the guy who was the manager of the ice hockey team at Eastern Michigan was also a professor in the communications program. And he said, "Hey, you want an easy way out of college?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love that."
All the basket weaving classes are full.
That's it. He said, "Take TV broadcasting." So that's how I got into it.
Yeah.
And I never, ever, ever imagined I'd be in front of a camera. I wanted to be a writer. It's all I ever wanted to do in my life. I wanted to write news. I wanted to write news for WXYZ TV, which is Channel 7, the ABC-owned and operated station in Detroit.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to do was write news in Detroit. I went there, took the writer's test, failed it miserably. Miserably. Oh, it was terrible. I had to walk out of there with my tail between my legs and my head down. And I ended up taking an internship at a small station in my hometown, Saginaw, Michigan, and got hired right out of my internship. And that's how I got on TV. I would have never, ever pictured myself being a broadcaster in front of this thing.
Now, that first time when you're going to be the lead anchor, what was that story?
I don't even remember how that happened.
Usually, like someone is sick or there's some kind of problem, you get an opportunity that way.
Yeah, I don't. I know I just got elevated up because somebody left the organization, and I was doing morning news at the time, so I was doing those obnoxious little 5-minute cut-ins during CBS This Morning.
Getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to rip the wire for that.
Terrible stuff. Yeah. And they used to require us to go to the cop shop, so we'd go down to the city police department on the way into work. We'd rifle through the book.
Look at the big book. There was a big book where they would write down everything that happened. Yes.
And we go through the big book every morning, and we go back into work.
You think there's still a big book?
I have no idea.
I remember somewhere around 2001, I said to a reporter, I was like, go down and look in the big book. And they were like, what decade are you in?
What are you talking about?
There's no big book.
Right. So we do that every morning. But you're right, I'd drag myself out of bed at about 2:30 in the morning, and I'd get into work, and we put those shows together. And I think the first one hit right around 6:50 or something, and we'd do those cut-ins. But yeah, I just got elevated out of doing morning news into the nighttime job This was actually at my second job, which was WUHQ TV, which is no longer in existence, in ABC in Battle Creek, Michigan. I went there as a reporter and the morning anchor. The guy left there. Guy's name was Jack Hawkins, and Jack left the job.
Jack Hawkins.
Jack Hawkins. Jack had a great voice too. He was one of those. Jack was one of those guys that
they all had great voices.
Jack had spent part of his career in Hawaii. He was one of those George Hamilton guys that was eternally tan.
In Battle Creek, Michigan, in February, he still had a tan.
Battle Creek, Michigan, the best tan in Battle Creek. But Jack retired or moved on. I don't even remember the story, but they kicked me up to there. I did that for about a year and a half, and then the gig opened up here in Salisbury, and I came out here in '87.
So you come here and you're like, I'm going to do my contract's 2 years.
I believe that it was 2 years on the first contract I signed.
And I'll do 2 years, and hopefully someone at Channel 11 in Baltimore will be on vacation in Ocean City on the weekend. They'll see me, and they'll hire me up there, or I'll go to Richmond or someplace like that.
And I'll get out here, or I'll go to Philly. I mean, I really wanted to get to Philly to get near where my in-laws were.
Right.
And that was the plan. I mean, obviously that didn't work out. And once I'd been here for 6 months and then a year and a couple of years, it was like, I really kind of like this place.
That's what I want to know. Like, why in the hell are you still here?
I was just in no hurry to get out of here. And I said to my wife, do you like it? She said, I love it here. I'm a beach girl. We're 30 minutes away. And I said, yeah, I really like being here. I really don't want to go anywhere. And I said, but this TV gig's not going to last forever. She said, you'll find something. You'll find something to do.
Yeah, I'm a TV broadcaster in a city of 30,000 people. Yeah. There's plenty of things for me to do.
Yeah. So when that gig went away, luckily a door opened at UMES. I went down there for 5 years and worked.
I forgot about that. You did work down there.
I spent 5 years down there building a telecommunications program with the late Dr. Chester Hedgepeth.
Yes.
Dr. Hedgepeth and I worked on that project together, and then I was there on a federal grant, a Title III grant, and when that went away, I was without a job. Donna Richardson was the PR director at PRMC at that point.
And everyone knew you and liked you, which helped.
Yeah, it did. I mean,
unlike me, they all know me, but they don't like me. But they liked you.
They kind of did.
Yeah.
I didn't burn a whole lot of bridges like you did over your career.
Yeah.
So Donna called me and said, I got this thing. Are you interested? And I said, sure. I said, as a matter of fact, I'm on my way to WBOC now. I was going to go there and talk to them about selling online advertising. That's what I was going to do. And Donna said, stop, turn the car around, come to the hospital and talk to me before you go in there.
Wow.
So I was that close to really accepting a job doing something else.
Right.
And ended up at the hospital 21 years ago. So I've been there 21 years.
They had an anchor vacuum for a long time. Until Hammond came along and got good. Steve Hammond got good.
I was still the enemy, okay, because I worked across town. Hammond was solidly there and has been there ever since, as you know. Lisa Spicer was at that point working with Hammond on the anchor desk. He wasn't going anywhere, and they didn't have any need for me. But I'll tell you this, and I will share this in all sincerity and honesty, and I love the man, the late Tom Draper. Every time that I would run into Tom, who owned WBOC and the whole Draper Communications mega corporation that it's become now, every time that I would run into Tom, he would go out of his way to come over to me and say, how you doing?
Yeah.
Ask about the family.
Yeah.
Always wanted to know how I was, if I was feeling well, if things were going great for me. And this is a guy who was competing against his television station.
He was a prince. He really was.
Complete gentleman.
Yeah.
To the word gentleman. I've never met anyone like him in my life.
And he had a way with me. Whenever I'd see him places, he would say, you still doing that newspaper thing?
Mm-hmm.
And I would go, yeah, I had like 3 stories on the front page today. Didn't you notice that? And then even after I became publisher, I'd see him places. He would go, you still doing that newspaper thing? But anyway, you were kind of my role model in terms of, even though my father died of it, of having your prostate checked and being aware of that stuff.
Yeah.
You want to give me your spiel on that?
And it's like, fellas, have your physical. I can't say that enough. Yeah. And get checked. And if your doctor wants to do the digital exam, or if he wants to draw blood for the PSA, do it. And in particular, if there is a history of it in your family. But there wasn't in mine. I had no idea. But they found it through my physical.
Yeah.
And I remember the day that my doc said, I'm going to refer you over to Edney. I want Edney to take a look. So I went over and saw Mark Edney, urologist here in town, and he He
He's
didn't
got
examine.
huge hands.
So we go through the whole thing, go through the biopsy. We find out I've got cancer. All right. So, and that's a shock when you get those words.
So the PSA's high, and they do a
PSA's
biopsy
high. They do a biopsy. Biopsy
of the
says,
gland.
Yep. Biopsy says you're loaded with cancer. So off we went for surgery. Did it robotically. 5 little incisions, where the trocars go in to hold the instruments, and did it robotically. And so they radiated the core where the prostate was, figuring there were still a few rogue cells hanging around down there. Did 39 sessions of that through the Henson Cancer Institute here at PRMC.
We don't have to go anywhere anymore. That's a great center, and they do all the same stuff they do at Hopkins.
It is amazing, and you'd be surprised how many times people will go up the road to Hopkins, or they'll go up the road to Maryland, and they'll say, just go home and have it done.
Yeah.
It is a world-class cancer institute here and also in Ocean Pines at the Ocean Pines Health Pavilion there. Wonderful, wonderful doctor staffs, and the latest, greatest equipment. I mean, you can't get better cancer treatment than you can get.
Yeah.
Right there. Again, I've been clean since 2016 when I had the little recurrence. So,
So one of my favorite things is when I go to the Shorebirds, you're there. What are you doing at the Shorebirds?
I love that gig. It is, it took me 55 years before I had to punch a time clock. But I'm doing it, and I'm loving it. I'm ushering out at the ballpark. Jimmy Sweet, the assistant GM, who I work with a lot at Peninsula Regional in that role. Jimmy has said to me 3 years ago as we're sitting around doing something, he said, why don't you come out and usher at the ballpark? I think you'd enjoy it, and I think you'd be fun at you'd be good at it. And I said, I don't have time to do this. He said, come on out. If you hate it in a month, leave. I did, and 3 years later, I'm still ushering out at the ballpark. It is the greatest gig in the world for a guy who loves to talk and loves to meet people, and loves to tell stories. And I cannot believe that someone is actually paying me to be at a baseball game.
And you take care of your section.
I do, a few sections.
Yeah.
And the cool part about that is once the ball game starts rolling, as much as the game is in the umpire's hands on the field, it's really in the usher's hands.
I'm watching. You're working this while this thing's going on. You're not just watching the game. You are working. You're watching your people.
You're watching folks. You're making sure kids aren't climbing on the dugout. You're chasing foul balls that go into the stands to make sure that somebody doesn't get hurt. You're telling kids to stop running around through the ballpark. But it's really it's an absolute blast. I mean, and I love it. And the thing for me that I love the most is when I'm working the home gate, which is the main lower level gate coming in, you're meeting everybody who comes in.
Right.
And you're saying hi to everybody who comes in. And even when I'm ushering different sections and I'm not there and Charlie's got the home gate, you won't get past me without me saying hello to you.
When you walk in, you are right there.
Right, and here's the reason why. There's a couple. Number one is I really want to talk to you. I'm that kind of guy that wants to strike up a conversation and say hello. Number two is you don't get a second opportunity to make a first impression.
Right.
And we are that first impression to a lot of people for the Delmarva Shorebirds when we're working those games.
Right.
People have different options for their entertainment dollar. They can go anywhere. They could go to the movies. They could do whatever they want to do. But if they're coming to us, we want that experience, and I want that experience to be exceptional. I want them to leave there thinking, you know what? I can't wait to get back here. I want to come back here, and I want to do this again. So that is equally as much my role as an usher than it is wiping the seats down. And you'd be surprised how many people come to the ballpark and say to me, I'm here for the very first time. We're Orioles fans. We're down from Baltimore. We've never been here. We've never seen this place. But we thought we'd come in and we'd just see a game tonight.
Yeah.
I want them to leave that night and say to me, this has been wonderful.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back here next year. And I'm going to tell my friends about this place. So when they come down here, I want them to come over and watch a ball game too. And to me, that's the most important thing that I do as an usher is providing that whole. We're really cast members. It's kind of like Disney.
Right.
We're really cast members for what's going on for the baseball team. The guys are doing their work out on the field, but the rest of us are providing that overall entertainment experience for people in the ballpark. From people parking the cars to those of us ushering to the people working in the concession stands to up in the gift shop. We all have a role to do in making sure that when you're in that ballpark, you're having a really good time and you're safe and you're protected, and it's just a great, fun place to be for a couple of hours. I can't think of a better place to be than a ballpark. And again, they pay me to do this.
The hospital, and I love what you do at the hospital. You're
I do too.
a great
I absolutely love
ambassador
that job
for that place, and so much. As an editor guy reading these things, and I pretend I know what's going on, but I don't. But it sounds like PRMC, the medical foundation, whatever, the health system, is taking over the world. Is that what's going on?
Well, I don't think Mr. Leonard would like you to phrase it quite
Steve
that
Leonard,
way.
your boss.
My boss,
yes.
my big boss, the president, CEO of the health system. But no, we are building a world-class, honest-to-goodness health system here on Delmarva, which is something that we've never had. Steve, who's been in
we have had it, but it's a little.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, right. We've had the Peninsula Regional Health System for a number of years, but the health system really was the medical center and our joint venture partner operations that we have. But it was never different hospitals functioning together as a bona fide health system. Steve likes to say he had a 5-year plan to do this. He just didn't know it was all going to happen in the first year.
Right.
But as you know, McCready has signed the definitive agreement to join us.
Which has been so long in the making. Going back 4 presidents ago, they wanted to do something with McCready, or McCready was one of them to do something with them.
And McCready was in a situation where the rules and regs that define a hospital in Maryland, McCready did not maintain the census to do that. So they needed to do something differently. They really needed to. And they came in search of us, and we thought this is a great opportunity. We certainly and absolutely want to continue healthcare services in Somerset County. They were in jeopardy had we not stepped in, quite honestly, to do that. And we're going to end up building a new complex, a new health pavilion.
Sounds nice.
Beautiful health pavilion out on 413
Yeah.
for the people of Crisfield in Somerset County.
Much better located.
Yes, and because of that rich history of the McCready name, it's going to be the McCready Health Pavilion. We're not going to get away from that. We never would in a million years. As of now, all inpatient and surgical procedures are coming up the road to us. McCready will function as a freestanding medical facility in place where it is now. They just won't have the inpatient beds and won't be doing the surgical procedures. And then the new place comes in a couple of years and everything will transition over there.
Right.
Most recently is Nanticoke in Seaford, which was just an outstanding opportunity for us. Nanticoke about 2 years ago started looking for a partner and examined a bunch of organizations, including some across the country to partner with. And it came down to 2 of us. And they chose us, and we are. I can't tell you how excited we are to bring the Nanticoke family into the Peninsula Regional family.
Great physician staff there, a lot of talent.
Outstanding healthcare, award-winning healthcare, and really their patient satisfaction numbers are just incredible.
People are very loyal to that facility.
Just incredible. That is an outstanding healthcare team. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have Nanticoke joining us. And think about when you put 3 hospitals and 3 health systems together and to create this one, we have now all this leverage of all of these physicians and all of these nurses and all this support staff where we can share best practices, learn from what each other is doing. I mean, obviously Peninsula Regional Medical Center is going to be the biggest hospital in the new health system, but that doesn't mean that we're doing things better because we're bigger than Nanticoke is. And I said a great example of that is Nanticoke's patient satisfaction numbers are incredible.
Yeah.
We can learn from them what they're doing right and doing better than we are, incorporated into our daily work at Peninsula Regional and at the McCready Health Pavilion, and make everybody a better performing healthcare provider.
Roger, thanks for coming in and wearing the shirt. And
I love this shirt.
And making me feel better about the summer. So
thanks, buddy.
Thank you for that. It's
always a pleasure to see you.
He's Roger Follebout. He works at the Peninsula Regional Medical Center. He's the former anchor on WMDT here in town. And we're just thrilled that he would talk to someone like us. Thank you so much.
You're a good guy. You're a good guy, Bassett.
Thank you. I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper. Another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.